So let's look at this pine tree, which is now fallen since last September, and we're in August, so it's nearly a complete year, and I've allowed it to stand here and dry out, basically, because without too much rain and without being in contact with the ground, it's actually done most of my work for me. And as you can see, I've already started to strip the bark off of this pine tree, which is not particularly great wood. It's a wood that needs to be treated, and I will show you that later. But it'd be interesting to see what's actually living underneath the bark. And you can see the marks of grubs that have been bred, like here for instance, and flown. And you can understand how people may have looked at this material thousands of years ago and thought, well, that's the first form of paper or natural resource in which we can record information. So there's the beginning of civilization as we know it, through writing. So look at this tree and the fallen roots. It's been taking me quite a lot of effort to clean this area up, because I had about 4 or 5 big pine trees fall here. There's another, and there you can see how the pine lives and why it's so adaptable in Mediterranean environments. Now, if you put this pine tree in a temperate climate with deeper soils, then they're less likely to actually get blown over. But look at that, that's almost like a pancake root system there. There's hardly a taproot to be seen. That's because these taproots don't need to go that deep to be able to look for water. The plant has natural resistance against droughts, and it lives in very shallow Mediterranean soils. And there we have another look at it. And I'm actually having the idea of leaving it in this upright position to create some sort of shelter. As you can see, the sun's behind it at this moment, and I can easily allow that to form one side of an animal pen, for instance. The more trees, the better. You cannot believe how hot it gets in this climate. And there we are, seeing it again. These are pine trees with the bark naturally coming off. And then if I show you a little bit more, you can see my neighbour's plot right on the corner. It's when a tornado came through our land for the first time in living memory, and actually felled thousands of trees. We were lucky just to get the corners of our farms affected. But look at that. Again, same sort of thing. Natural shelter. My dogs are always looking for it. And these carob trees were much, much bigger. These carobs, which are coming up close to cropping, and it's not a good crop this year. On this particular tree anyway. This carob tree lost quite a lot of branches, and it's not the only one that's been reduced in size. The one directly in front of you, there beyond the cemetery of these animals, was in fact massive, and I cannot believe how small that tree looks now. But when I came back from my 10-day visit from Mallorca, I could not believe it, that one beehive had overturned, and it was in fact my best queen, and she was still in there alive, trapped. And as soon as I lifted the hive up and put it all together again, they all got happy and started doing what they normally do. So there we have it. I'm surrounded by loads of resources now, and I've got to make use of it, and that's what the nature of this video is about. So let's put the phone down and show you what I'm up to. Okay, so nice to see you all again. I'm hoping you're liking the style, the Wicker Man style. We've just done the Festival of the Devil here in El Perelló. 25 years. It was a fantastic festival. People dress up. It's a bit like Day of the Dead, maybe in South America. And it's great dancing and entertainment all night. But the hat was actually what some of the guys were wearing, and it was, I found it abandoned, and I thought, well, great, I'd have one of those. It's the theme anyway today is looking at nature, is looking at making use of natural resources, and effectively to be the green man, in nature, not just as an observer from the outside, but to live within nature, and that truly is the green man. So what I'm going to show you here is an almost like a prequel to the last video I made, because I want to show you how I treat pine wood and the nature of actually making use of a free-fallen resource. Say that. So what I'm going to do today is strip this bark off, and then I'm going to chop the trunk, lasso it up to the back of my car and pull it over to where the rest of them are, and treat it with a mixture of diesel and spent motor oil, and that gets in the wood and prevents insects from eating away at the wood. I mean, they've already started, but the point being is this wood isn't that great, and you'd have to give it more than one treatment. Okay, there's a good view. Tree trunk behind me, axe in my left hand, sharpening stone in my right hand. And you can get on, for many good fabricators, a tool called a draw knife for taking off, for skinning trees basically. So I just do this occasionally with this cheap axe which I found somewhere, because I haven't got any draw knives. I had those stolen, not from here, a long time ago, and I've got a strange habit that I don't really replace anything unless it's freely given. So when something gets stolen from me, it's adios amigo. Until next time. So just a dry stone and a cheap axe, but it's a good one. It's a nice thin axe, you see, because I'm going to use it for taking off the bark. Ecologists could have a field day here, just observing what insects are alive, what beetles are eating away at the at the lignum. And the cambium. Now you've got to be careful. I was chainsawing the other day and a load of wood flicked up into my ear and I caught an infection. And the only thing I could suggest was that there was something living in my ear for about 3 or 4 weeks. It eventually died, but I felt it moving around in there, and it was probably a grub from underneath the wood flicked up into my ear and decided to lodge itself in the wax, eating away. I thought that's a nice story to tell. Because around that time, my Belgian friends invited me for a sailing exhibition just down the local coast, and I went on their sailing boat, very nice. Had a few drinks, and there I was vomiting away. As soon as we left the port, I could not gain any sense of balance. I was half deaf in my ears, and without that balance, it's incredible how inept we are as human beings. We need the balance, and small things like that go on in our ears ensure that we can process information. And that's the basic problem that I had. I couldn't process information whilst I was on the boat because it was going up and down, and I was out of balance, obviously, and so most of my energy was spent with my head on the overboard. As you can see, this is very, very, very easy to take this stuff off because it's already rotting. I'm going to do this in no time. There are benefits to just waiting for nature to do its trick.
monkey, the predator, the prey, the mouse on and on. My feet are wet with the traveler rain. My hair is a mat of twigs and disdain. In tooth and claw, I was born on a bank. On nature produced me to widen her track, to regain what's been lost, to the man of fame. Descended out of woe from the family.
It only needs to be adequate. You don't need to be able to eat your dinner off it. Well, there's a joke in there somewhere. I'm almost done. Every tree has its own particular qualities, and temperate trees will, you may find it a different case. Out here there's less water, so things rot more slowly. A pine tree like this fallen in an English woodland would get eaten up in no time at all. But as I say, it's been here for just under a year. So there's two trunks here, look. And this will make a very good supporting post in my outdoor kitchen, where we're going to go to afterwards. And it's actually quite pleasant now working about 8-9 o'clock in the evening in Catalonia. The sun's setting over there. But I've got a nice crux here, which means I could easily put a support, a cross brace, joist or anything in between there, and further up peg up any other joists when I finally put the roof onto my outdoor kitchen.
Yes, I grew me to a size of a colony of honeybees, and bred on the wing and sweetness, one surgency, 1,000 stings, to the temples of perdition, 1,000 drones, to the tune of sedition. Oh, I chopped down the ash to embody me a handle, to wield with the fervor of a barbarous vandal. With metal I sharpened the axe to a tinker, to cut through the mire of Babylon's fringes.
It's a beauty in working directly with nature, but when something's a freely given resource like a fallen tree, I think the whole experience is very spiritual. And a lot of people don't understand what it means to be spiritual, but the idea is that you're operating with a sort of environmental passivity, a bit like the peasant in the old days who was dependent upon an environmental economy. So it's working with the seasons, but also working with an opportune moment like a tornado that comes in and disrupts the whole pattern of things. And the quicker you can work with that, the more likely you can benefit from it. So I'm not just talking about falling trees, but diverted rivers or rock falls, or a freak snowstorm or something like that. You know, you have to see it as part of our unconscious programming to be able to respond. If you don't respond, then you're disconnected from the unconscious programming, because it is in the nature of humanity to be survivors, and that's what we're best at, adaptation in the face of chaos.
Not what you seem, oh man of the game. Your fruit is still green like the mind that you wield. You nurture revolt like the insatiable gold.
So to be spiritual, do you really understand that? You know, Carl Jung tried to express it as an unconscious factor, and ourselves are sort of the interface between the unconscious and the conscious. There's an interchange there, so we need to appreciate the unconscious to be spiritual. And if you try to repress that, then you get very, I would say, misplaced personalities, because they can't deal with their environments. So from a psychological angle, the idea is to allow the unconscious to work through you and to allow it to form a conscious expression, and that requires skilling up. It requires freedom to be able to express your creativity. That's why it's so fulfilling to work with nature directly, working with crude or raw materials. It's about the most spiritual thing you can do, because it engages the human capacity to survive and adapt, and join you with your ancestors, who are all there in the deep unconscious, who have paved the way for you to continue to pave the way in the future. So it's a connectedness to human cultural evolution, but it's an appreciation of the unconscious. Hi again. So as you can see, I'm on the chainsaw now, and I'm on the chainsaw which I repaired. I had to put a new drive sprocket into it, because that old adage, don't lend your tools to anyone. And unfortunately they hello doggies. Unfortunately they run the machine without any oil in it and cause massive damage. So it's a very dangerous machine at the moment. The switch is permanently on and the clutch is permanently off. So I would say that this is not something you should do at home, and only do it if you're experienced.
He's console with a brazen cry. Oh, the holly bore me a hand with a pang of deliverance. Took a tale from the land that was offended officials. She bore me a brick with a poignant remittance to go into humanity like a scourge under pittance. I blew me a scream from the wood of Hornbeam to the slaughter of man. Upon the altar he shamed his blood freezes soil in revenge and spoil to replenish the earth for mammon's unrelenting toil.
Well, I'm very happy with that. It's only an £80 chainsaw. I bought a replacement one and was going to use that for parts, but as I say, I went online and I found a new drive sprocket, and it was a simple case of just smashing the old one off and putting new one on. That's a good thing about just having a go, learning to do things. The skilling up process, you just learn to do lots of things and you save yourself huge amounts of money. But I am a big fan of manual tools, and I have a nice selection of saws for when the job requires it.
Into the darkness I ventured within a mangle. Amid those lianas where men are hung and strangled. Caught up a day in the vines of their vices. No request for them against reprisal, no. I festoon myself in the clothing of evergreen armor, tending to the needs of the budding seedling farmers who march indoors from their sacred oakly groves to trample down a succession of foreign hordes. Most quiet place where the youth casts his face, or bear me a bow that is strong with a vow to cast upon the assailants of my Gallic verdant glades a death as promiscuous as the rain of my virgin veil.
Well, it's coming, but it's going to take a bit longer than I thought. This is a heavy mother. Okay. Before I sign out for the day, I've specifically taking into account the fact that I'm going to destroy the end of this dry stone wall because it's already rubble, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't repair it, because I don't want this end. I've got an olive tree right there, and I'd rather have a nice clear piece of ground underneath the olive tree. So this is going to drag over that end of the dry stone wall and smash it up a bit more. Hey, hi again. Well, I was going to retire for the day, but actually it didn't take long to bring around the trunk. Here it is. And I'm going to do the final part of treating it before I lose my light. So, just a little quick trim around the edges. See if I've left any bits of bark on there. And then it's a case of mixing the diesel with the spent motor oil to create a insect repellent. Oh well, that's good enough. So all I'm going to do is use a bit of diesel with spent motor oil, just mix it up. Now this spent motor oil, they're giving it away at any garage because it costs them to actually dispose it. So you can pick some up. The diesel is basically to thin it out so it penetrates the wood. Now, wear gloves, waterproof ones. And only make a little at a time. And I'm going to use something like a soft brush or an old mop head or something like that, but let me get my gloves. You're probably going to do this about 2 or 3, 4 times even before you put it up, and then whilst it's up there you'll do it once a year or something like that, maybe even less. But it's actually working. Some of these trunks I done about 3 years ago and they're looking rather good. So here we are, just an old mop head like this, and you can do it very, very fast. He said, oh, waterproof gloves, you know, it's all over my legs. Good job. I'm going to take a shower after this. One concern was treating stuff with oil and diesel is whether it makes it flammable. But to be honest, in this environment, the grass around us is even more flammable. If there's going to be a fire, it's going to be a fire. And this structure that I'm building here is going to be the kitchen. So the idea being that I'm going to cake the tyres in mud so that any rubber is buried effectively, and the structure will look much more natural for it. So, long way to go. But I do like plugging away, and I do like allowing time to generate solutions. Okay.